Hey, this is Alex Anist. I haven't done an instructional video in a long time, but there's a little thing I've been thinking about for a while, and I've mentioned it to a few other musicians, and usually when I do, it's something that they find interesting. So I thought I'd make a video about it, and this is a way of looking at a chord progression and how to play over it. That happens occasionally where you have a major 7 chord and then you go up a half step and have another major 7. So it's the first 2 chords of the Sorcerer. It's the first 2 chords of Beatrice, which are 2 really cool tunes. And there's a lot of ways to approach that chord progression, but there's 2 that I find really interesting. The first one is just a different way of thinking about the scales that you might use that connects it more to the blues. And the second one is a way of thinking about the shapes you might use that introduces some symmetry. So we'll start with the blues one. So a lot of times you can just play, like if we're in D flat, D flat major, and then you go up to the D. The closest mode that fits the major 7 to that would be D Lydian, because the 5th is in common. The 5th of the D flat is the sharp 11 of the D. So you can just go back and forth between those 2. But one thing that I do a lot is, instead of using Lydian for a Lydian sound, I use the minor pentatonic a half step below. And I like that because it gets me all the cool notes. It's easier. And it connects me with the pentatonic scale, which connects me with the blues scale. So rather than use D Lydian, I can't even remember the word Lydian, I just use D flat or C sharp minor pentatonic. Normally I would think of it as C sharp minor, but in this case, I'm going to play D flat major pentatonic over the 1 chord and D flat minor pentatonic over the flat 2 chord. So which to me is interesting because that's a technique of playing over the first 2 bars of a blues tune that I was taught way back in the old days. So, and I'm sure all of y'all were taught that too. So I'm actually going to play this loop that I made that's in a really bizarre meter. It's 15/8. It's 5 groups of 3. I've been messing with this because I have to learn this rhythm for a different project. But I put a loop on it. So here's the loop. So the other thing I did there, aside from a bunch of blah stuff, was use the F minor pentatonic. If you think in guitar brain, it's all minor pentatonic. We should probably fix that. A flat major pentatonic over the one chord. Why? Because that gives me the major 7, right? So it's still connected to this like potentially bluesy sound. So yeah, that's kind of just a way of looking at this. Definitely on a tune like Beatrice, I will do this a lot because I like to treat those first 4 bars like a blues instead of like a, like a modal tune. So losing my mind here. So like, so as a way to get to that D minor thing, the first measure of the second 4 bars. So for that change, and then more nonsense. So that's the first little trick that I like to use. I think it's cool. Maybe you'll think it's cool. So then the second trick, or way of looking, I shouldn't call it a trick. This is just like how we navigate improvisation, right? Because we're trying always to come up with something interesting, something we haven't done before, something that other people haven't done before, which is impossible, but at least maybe we're going to do it like slightly differently, and find a way to connect to like our, we're trying to express ourselves. And for me, I need to create simple ideas if I want to express myself. If I'm thinking about this stuff too much while I'm playing, it's not really expressive. So this may sound like, it may sound like I'm overthinking it, but I'm trying to think about this when I'm not playing so that I can just play it when I am playing and use it to say what I want to say. So anything that you play over a D flat major scale, letting any set of intervals that you play over D flat major scale is going to be inverted around the tonic when you go up to the D mixolydian. No, that's not true. The D Lydian scale. So just a quick example, off of the root on D flat major 7, just down the scale, 3 notes. That's the root, the 7th, and the 6th. When you go up to D flat major, we're going to go opposite. Instead of going down a half step and down a whole step, we'll go up a half step and up a whole step. And now we have the major 7, the root, and the 2. So again, you can use that idea. So, so it's quite simple, though it can get weird. If I decide I want to go down, down the scale, but skip, so I'm going, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3. Well, then I'm going to go, if you're thinking about it in terms of D flat, 1, flat 2, flat 3. 1 flat, 2 flat, 3, 4. I can't think about this in D flat. I'm not thinking that way. I'm thinking about it in terms of intervals. Okay, so if I want to play over that just using those notes, I never do this. I do that every day. I play that like way too much. I never do that. So, you know, and now when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing this B minor 7 arpeggio. And when I'm looking at this, suddenly I'm seeing this F minor. I'm thinking about the F minor 7 arpeggio. So what I'm realizing right now is that the like negative of F minor 7 is B minor 7 around that D flat root. Okay, so again, whatever I build, if I build a D flat major triad up, that's up a major third and up a minor third. I can go down a major third and down a minor third, and I'll have an F sharp minor triad. So I can mess around between D flat major, say D flat major 7, and F sharp minor. Oh, well, if I take that, that's just going to be a D major 7 chord. So yeah, we'll go D flat major to F sharp minor. That one's pretty straightforward, but I'm going to mess around with this F minor 7 to this B minor 7 over this little weird loop. And I'm also going to try to just come up with some simple ideas that I'm going to repeat negatively. And I also might jump the octave. So that's up a whole step and up a whole step, down a whole step, down a whole step. I should credit Kat Stye and Sam Johnson and Bob Zammit because they're the other members of Kat's band, and we've been messing with this rhythm in that band. But the rhythm is actually it's like in 2s and 3s. So it's 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1. But I'm feeling that in 15/8. So here's the pulse. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's fun. So I'm going to play over that using this idea. was okay, but it can lead to maybe if I'm thinking about F minor pentatonic and B minor pentatonic, those two pitch sets seem pretty distant from each other. So I'm, but I can play similar ideas, and I kind of like that thought, as opposed to thinking about like F minor and G flat minor, or F minor and F sharp minor, I guess. To me, that kind of thing can lead to a lot of repetition that I don't want to do, kind of like instead of that, it allows me to make a lot of mistakes too. Ah! And I'm just back to that. I'm just back to that F minor pentatonic meets B minor. Sorry, no, I'm not. I'm not back to that. I'm not doing that. I'm doing B minor or D major pentatonic and F minor pentatonic. So I'll probably just edit that part out. Yeah. Anyhow, this is just a way of trying to navigate changes that maybe they're difficult, maybe they're not difficult, but maybe they're just like hard to come up with interesting ideas over. There's a whole bunch of, almost any set of changes I have found the process of trying to be creative over any set of changes is always a challenge, because no matter what the chords are, there's like a million things that I've been playing for years that I just keep playing, and I'm like, how can I stop playing that stuff that I've already played 1,000 times and start playing something different? And I can do that by changing how I think about phrasing. I can do that by working on certain techniques. I can do it by changing how I think about the chords. And I can do it by like trying to connect the chord changes to simple things that I have been playing for years, but like use those things in a new way. So, all right. Thanks for listening. Hope that was elucidating. Is that a word? I don't even know if that's a word. So I hope it was enlightening. Yeah, we'll go with that. I hope this was enlightening. All right. Have a good day.